at Beta, 1-year deal, league minimum. There's no doubt in your mind you're saying no to that.
See, I don't want to say no to that. Like, there could be a 1% chance that it would have to be something like that. Okay. Like, it's like, oh, any other team, no, but, maybe San Jose, where I'm from, where it all started. I think that'd be kind of a cool, like, full circle moment. Okay. But other than that, no. Like,
no Manchester City.
Okay, all right.
Man City and San Jose. Okay,
Man City.
Hypotheticals.
Yeah, I actually just got a pretty cool text message, literally like 10 minutes ago, from an old GM, just congratulating me on a great career and all this stuff. And he said, Carlo Ancelotti, when he was at one of the games, or I think he said trainings, and he said the only player he actually complimented was you. And I never told you this, but I want to let you know that you're the only one. Who's that? And he said, he's a good player. I was like, wow, you could have told me this earlier.
I just scored it. I couldn't believe. Yeah. That's insane.
Pretty cool.
Wow.
Matt, are we recording this yet, Brendan?
I started recording on my phone, but like up to up to you, however you want to do it.
Okay.
But, allow recording.
Okay.
So
we had to get that. That statement was on the record, Beta. That's going in the piece. Carlo Ancelotti complimented you.
No worries. Yeah. I wish I knew that earlier. I was like, that's pretty cool,
Yeah. How many texts and calls have you gotten?
Sorry, you said how many calls and texts did I get?
Yeah, how many calls and texts have you gotten?
Oh, is that my end or your end?
I think it's your end.
Surprisingly, not a lot of calls, but a lot of texts and messages. I think people kind of understand the calls. They're probably swarming in, and so everyone's trying to be respectful and just sending message. So no one's actually calling. A lot of messages. I don't know how many. A lot.
I mean,
who's the biggest person who's reached out? Like, has Josie messaged you?
I mean, I don't want to put him on blast because he personally called out Josie. No, he hasn't. But like a lot of old teammates, definitely. Coaches, GMs. So yeah, a lot of people that I worked with in the past, which is pretty cool. Obviously you play this game long enough, you create all these special memories. And so regardless of, where they are, where I'm in my career, it's pretty cool just to bring back those memories.
Yeah. So, Steven, I know you were weighing your options near the end of the year. At least that's what I heard. Back and forth kind of thing, whether to give it a last go in 24. But I guess, can you explain the reasoning behind hanging up your boots? And now, aside from the fact that we established that other than the bare minimum league offer from San Jose, you're totally content on hanging your boots up.
Yeah. No, I was definitely ready to hang them up. Obviously the way that it ended last year for us, no one wants that. It's not a great feeling, not fun to be part of. But, I did have conversations with Robin before. Unfortunately, they let him go. Porg told me that 2 of the 3 finalists, Chris Armas was one of the finalists, Chris Little and Pamadou Ka. He told me 2 of the coaches, wanted me to stick around and play one more year. So I was mentally ready to, and physically, mostly physically, ready to retire. But, for me, when Robin or when Pamadou Ka or when Chris Little said, hey, I want you to play one more year, and just kind of not necessarily to play a lot, but just be that veteran, that leader, that locker room guy. And I was totally 100% ready to do that. It's a completely different role than like coming in and trying to prove yourself and play every time. And I was ready for that. I kind of did that this year anyways. There was a lot of times where it didn't matter if I trained well or not. I knew I was just, I'm here to back up the younger guys and the next generation. And so I was ready for that. But then when they hired Chris Armas, I think it was, okay, he wasn't one of the coaches that specifically asked for you. And so I was like, all right, like, I'm ready to retire. But, I know Chris, he wanted me at Red Bull when he was the coach there when I was a free agent. So, I spoke with Chris afterwards, and we're trying to see if maybe something will work out and keep me along the staff or front office or do something. So we'll see if something comes of that. But, I don't know where it'll go from now, but I know it won't be playing. So now it was like, all right, I don't feel like moving anywhere else to play another year or do this role. And so that's why I was like, all right, time to retire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you think, Beta, do you definitely think that like coaching is in your future or could be one of those outcomes? I know Drew kind of mentioned when I was speaking to him this time last year that he was kind of in the middle and he's kind of found a niche that I think works for him right now. I don't know. I'm not sure that you strike me as a guy who wants to go into media though.
No, yeah, I've talked to Drew. Drew's definitely been a big help, towards the later end of my career, and just talking to him and how he kind of prepared for it. And, I definitely do want to go into coaching. We did our coach's license together, actually, a couple years ago. And I do want to get into it. I also really enjoy the player development side. I know he's kind of doing that, but he's kind of doing a lot of things right now for the club. But I really love that part of it and helping guys get the best out of their potential. I feel like there's so many teams I've been part of that there are these high caliber players that have so much potential and they have all the physical tools, but maybe mentally they don't understand what to give to the game on and off the field. And, this is a lot of stuff that I studied before I got my coach's license. And I think I can really help teams not only implement that within their players, but it's going to help their overall success. And then it's going to help the club because, at the end of the day, a lot of clubs in MLS are selling clubs. And so if you have a player living up to the potential, physically and mentally and doing all the things right, then you can sell these players, for a lot of money. Europe will spend a lot of money, millions of dollars for some of these young, talented players from MLS. And so, that's really where I want to focus on. But again, it's where and when that will be. That's to be determined.
Yeah. Steven, I know you talked to me earlier in the summer when you reached your 300th game. You're still obviously really passionate about player development, but as well as like keeping the affordability and the grassroots still affordable and not losing that effort. I guess when you kind of look at, the course of where soccer has grown in the country and where you could see yourself fitting in next, would you ever consider like being an MLS guy and saying, no, we have to start over from the grassroots and build up from there? That sort of player development or?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think that is really, really big picture. Yeah. And you're involving a lot of people. And I think maybe over time I could do that. Right now, I'm trying to focus more just not individual, but a handful of players and seeing how that goes and that development goes. Helping the club succeed, on that individual player standpoint, but then selling the player, and then you're distributing that money if it's a homegrown player amongst the club in whatever way you want. But if it does grow bigger, I think that's definitely big picture, and I think that's where we can really improve. Because I talk to people all the time. I have a lot of people that reach out and like, hey, you're well connected in MLS. Can you help me get this player's name out? Like, he's fallen through the cracks. And I was a player that almost fell through the cracks. I had to walk on at San Diego State. And so I think there's so many talented players out there, but it's just which avenue do they take to make it? Some people can't afford because it's very expensive to play in the U.S. Zlatan, who, had a very, very, very unbelievable career and wealthy and all this stuff. And he's mentioning how expensive it is to play here in the U.S. So just imagine that some of these kids that are talented can't necessarily afford, whether it's these camps or clinics or these big club teams that travel all the time and get a lot of exposure, which is good for them in the long run. But, it's that. So to answer your question again, it's just that's big picture, and I would love to change that and make it just everybody has a equal opportunity. But, I don't know how soon that I could accomplish that.
On the notion of player development, Steven, I was looking back through. I have at times in the back of my brain thoughts or ideas for questions. And I was talking to Emilio Gonzalez on the comms team. This is 4 or 5 months ago. And we were just mentioning we were trying to connect the dots between you and Stephen Fry. And then Emilio found out that you guys played on the San Jose Frogs together. So I've always like that's a weird stat. I should ask Steven, what do you remember about being on the San Jose Frogs? What was Stephen Fry like in 2004?
Oh, he was unbelievable. He was one of those players that I think we all knew he was going to get drafted into MLS. He was at Berkeley at the time, one of the top goalies. I remember the training sessions, and when I scored against him, because I was mostly playing winger there, and when I scored on him in training, I was like, man, I just scored on Stefan. Like, that's pretty cool. Berkeley goalie. Obviously, we played against him in the Pac-10 or Pac-12 now, because I went to San Diego State. He was at Berkeley. We were in the same conference. But that's what I remember. Just he had a big name, and people knew he was going to go into MLS. Where for me, I was from San Diego State. That Frogs team was incredible, by the way. We had, I think my first year, we had 6 or 7 guys get drafted. And at the time, I don't know if it's still the same, you can only have 5 guys from the same school play on PDL together. So we had 5 Santa Clara guys, big school, 5 Berkeley guys, big school, 5 Stanford guys, big school. And then one guy from San Diego State, myself. And, I'm looking at all them man, these guys are so good. They all go to these big schools. And then I'm hanging with them. And I think that was the moment where I was kind of all right, maybe I could make it too. But again, I go to San Diego State, smaller school, not a big name. And I always knew the path was going to be more difficult for me. But, when I'm starting over these guys, when I'm, scoring all these goals for them and they're talking about, hey, I need to transfer to their schools, I'm like, that's pretty cool. So that's what I kind of remember about Stephen Fry.
What was the weirdest or most bootstrapped PDL story for you? Because I remember talking to Brian Dunseth about Project 40 and some of those road trips and how they made that league work were weird. And I feel like PDL was similarly a bit of the Wild West.
Yeah. Who were we playing? Gosh, it might have been Bakersfield. And so from San Jose, we bust, and that's probably a 4-ish, 5-hour bus ride. The bus breaks down on, Highway 5, which is nothing's around. It's just a straight shot, cows and just land. And our bus broke, and then so we're on the side of the road waiting for someone to come fix it. They couldn't fix it, so they had to come bring another bus. That trip ended up taking 8-9 hours to get there. And then we ended up still playing. I don't know how. And then we come back that night. It was crazy. That was definitely it. That was it.
Did you guys lose the game?
That was my first road trip.
That was your first road trip. Do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember the result? Did you guys get blown out?
I remember I had 4 half-field breakaways, and I'm gonna blame the crazy trip, and I missed all 4 breakaways. Maybe my legs were jello or something. I remember the fuel was also a little wobbly, and I just couldn't get a good finish on it. And I missed all 4, and I was pretty bummed out about that. And I waited so long. It might have even been my first start with the club too. And I was really excited. I remember don't cancel the game. I really wanted to play the game. I think, I was fresh to the team. I had
recording in progress.
2 home games. Oh, recording in progress. I think I think I was kind of just amped up for that game, and I didn't want to cancel it, but yeah, the circumstances were rough. And Matt, you're muted, by the way. Sorry.
Okay, Brandon, you've been recording this whole time on your phone.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
we'll just leave it. Go ahead, Brendan.
Also, just a heads up, in case we do go long, I only have the free version of Zoom, which is 40 minutes. So I already sent you guys a new invite. So if we got to jump on that one, so cool.
No worries.
That's a freaking incredible story. The PDL, gotta love USL League 2 now.
Yeah.
So we actually spoke to Fran Taylor this week, and he said, you've got a lot of really interesting ideas and kind of just thoughts about MLS and what this league is going to do. Obviously, you mentioned the player development is a big part of it, but do you have any other, now that you're officially retired, what are your crazy ideas that you've got for the league?
For the league?
I don't know.
Nothing crazy. It's just right now it's more so, everyone's like, oh, you should just relax and enjoy it and go travel and all stuff. And I'm like, that's just not my personality. I'm such a just worker. Like, I need to do something.
Yeah.
I've kind of just been relaxing since the season ended and, waiting to see, okay, who are the Rapids hiring? Am I playing another year? Get back into shape type of thing. Or, if I'm not playing another year, okay, well, what am I going to do type of thing? So I've been calling a lot of people, doing a lot of interviews, with different clubs and all this stuff. So I've also been doing the Beta Performance, kind of the clinics on the side. Not that I'm going to do that full time, but just, it's something on the side. I think it's a good opportunity to give kids an opportunity to learn from a pro. It's super local, and, I'm actually doing a camp tomorrow and Sunday here in San Jose just because I'm from here. And, a lot of people reached out saying, hey, can you do one? Like, our team wants to, meet you and learn from you. So I think it's, a cool opportunity to give back. And I remember when I was a kid and I did some of these camps, and I'm like, hey, I'll never forget it. I even reached out to my elementary school because, when I was a kid, they had someone, he was part of the Clash. He wasn't a player, but he was like a halftime entertainer. He would juggle. And I remember going on stage and juggling with him. And I'll never forget that. And so I want to give these kids the same opportunity. Like, yeah, that's a professional soccer player. I'm going to play with him. He's going to give me some advice, maybe some encouragement. And I think things like that are pretty cool that I'm doing right now, but it's still going to be making calls and where am I going to be next type of thing.
Beta, give me how special was that San Jose team in 2012?
Very special. Very special. It was special because similar to our 21 team with the Rapids, we didn't have a huge payroll. Everybody was just so together, and hung out, whether it's after games, after training, on the weekends. Everyone was so close. And so that's why that team was so special. And, we were obviously very talented. We were fortunate. Everyone, you talk about that 2010 draft where Iko Para, Justin Moore, myself all get drafted together. And I still am just, how did they let all of us go? But that's beyond me. But yeah, that team was just so talented with Lenhart and Gordo up top, with Wando obviously breaking the goals in a year record. You had the unbelievable workhorses in the middle with Sam Cronin and Rafa Baca, who Baca had a great career in Mexico when they let him go as well. Shea Salinas and Marvin Chavez on the flanks, just, between Justin Morrow, Shea Salinas, myself, and Marvin Chavez, just so much speed, and just, we all worked, right? And it was a perfect fit. Get it wide, crossed it in, you got Wando and either Gordon, Lenhart, and then you have people like Simon Dawkins, who is has one of the best touches and control you can imagine. Mehdi Bellucci, these guys would either start or come off the bench, and you're just like, how? They should start on any other team. And that team was fun. That team was so special. Everyone loved each other. And then you have, I didn't give credit to the center backs with Jason Hernandez, who is just such a leader. Ike was there at the time. I think it was mostly Victor Bernardez and Jason playing, but, Ramiro Corrales was still playing a little bit left back, a little bit left midfield, and they pushed JMO into center back. He played a lot of center back actually that year, but it was a special team for sure.
give me some. Steven Lenhart is an extremely misunderstood individual based on the player that he was on the field, the parody of that, or I'm not saying that you're a dirty player, Steven, but like we could find a 15-second clip highlight of you doing stuff that we would think is Nigel de Jong bad in how long that you've done it. And that portrayed Lenny's character. Him not doing a lot of interviews or not being very open or being more introverted with the media didn't help him. Not saying that's a reason for it. As someone who was his teammate, like, give me some context to understand and appreciate the cosmic entity that is Lenny.
Yeah. Lenny is one of the nicest human beings. He is a bit of an introvert, so maybe that's why he didn't do a lot of these interviews afterwards. But when you sit down and talk to him, like, he'll open up, and then you see him as a person. Draymond Green gets a lot of flack in the NBA and the whole just NBA world, fans, media, all this stuff for his antics. I want to say Lenny was similar to that because of his antics on the field. But I guarantee you, everybody that plays with Draymond loves having him on the team. And that's how we felt about Lenny. If he's on your team, you love him. Like, you want those guys on your team. You hate playing against them. Like, he just frustrated defenders. He frustrated the other team. He just did what he had to do to help your team succeed. And he was perfect for us between, him and Gordon, the Bash brothers up top. They wreaked havoc. And as an outside back who loved crossing the ball, like, it didn't matter where I was. Anytime I was in the opposition's half, I was like, I think this is close enough. I'm going to cross this in, and they're going to go fight for everything. And so even if it was a bad ball, you're like, oh, they made it a good ball. So, yeah, Lenny as a person, I love him. Every once in a while I'll still message him here and there. He's a good guy, but I understand why, people hated playing against him because he was just a handful. I mean, I hated training against him because he would do that same stuff during training, just competes. But that's why that team was special. We all competed. Every training was like a battle. Just fights and elbows and bloody lips and all this, like, black eyes. But that's why that team was so good.
Beta, it kind of seems like that's just kind of the way that your generation of MLS players kind of were. Like, you set the physical tone for where the league is now. When you kind of look back at the players you played with who have also kind of retired in recent years, I mean, just what do you think is the legacy of the guys who were able to grind out a career and then went on to win a treble with TFC or went on to go win MLS Cup with other teams? Like, just kind of the guys who are now in their mid to upper 30s, kind of just the way that they helped really develop the league.
Yeah. I think, there's a handful of us that have been fortunate to kind of make through the beginning MLS 1.0. I know a lot of people call that to MLS 2.0. And just, what you see now is definitely different than, when I started, there were 16 teams in the league, and now it's almost doubled. We're at, 30 in 2025 with San Diego coming in. And so the talent level, it's definitely better, but, it wasn't that the talent level was bad back then. Like, there were some talented players, but it was just different. You had to work a lot harder. It was a lot more scrapping and fighting, and not as pretty. Like, the football wasn't as maybe enjoyable for the fans to watch, but it was still entertaining. Like, I'm not going to take that away. And so those guys that went, whether it was, Baca went to Mexico, or, Jason Hernandez went to New York City. Cronin, I think, was in Minnesota and the Rapids for a little bit. Guys went other places. Shea and Wando stayed in San Jose their whole careers and had tremendous careers. So everyone kind of, went their own ways. J-Mo and I ended up meeting in Toronto and having a successful 2017, 16 and 17 year together. So we all kind of went our own ways from that squad, but that was kind of the beginning of the transition from MLS 1.0 to 2.0. So it's pretty cool to see the guys succeed and, still have long careers. But, at the end of the day, I think for most of us, Father Time always wins. And unless you're LeBron James, but Father Time always wins. And so we're kind of, we get phased out. And it's cool to see the amount of players coming in from Central South America, and not just the European older players coming in for their last, year or two. Messi is an exception. This guy just won a World Cup against the best of the best. So he's not of this planet. He's something else, but it's pretty cool to see how it's transitioned with all these teams, with all these new stadiums coming in. The fan base is unbelievable. The fan base is now, and just, players coming in to MLS, showcasing themselves, and then going to, like Almiron to Newcastle for tons of money. We're in a good spot. The league is in a good spot, and I feel fortunate that I was able to be part of that kind of transition from 1.0 to 2.0. I think we're in like 3.0 now. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Beta, how much pride is there for you guys and like your generation in terms of you guys walked, so now MLS 3.0 or 4.0 or whatever can run? Alexi Lawless and a lot of the guys from the 96 era talk about like La Cosa Nostra, of like we took less money even though there might have been opportunities elsewhere. Chela Balboa, for example, playing in Mexico and coming back to MLS. And like, you talk about like, 2008, 2009 when you were coming to league and everything. I don't remember what league minimum was. I don't know if the MLSPA was announcing that as well, but you're talking about like you're living in the Bay Area on that amount of money, and then now you see where like how much pride is there in terms of what you built so that now that the league's even better than what it can be and provides the product to fans, but also then the opportunity for players?
Yeah. A lot of people ask me that, and they're like, "Oh, are you bitter? Are you mad?" I was like, "No, man. I was part of that. Like, I feel like I was part of that success for the group coming in now. Like, I take pride in that more than anything. Like, yeah, I think before I got into the league, the year before was 18,000 was minimum. My rookie year, the league minimum was 40,000. And so now you talk about guys coming in and, they're signing these huge $500,000 to $750,000 deals if you're a starter. And it's like, oh, don't you wish you were, this? I'm like I helped part of that. That's where I get my enjoyment. Like, yeah, obviously it would have been great to make more money, but before me, like these guys made nothing. They helped pave the way so that the league can, be sustainable and then progress every year. You can't just go from, 0 to 100. You got to kind of take your time. And the guys before me, made even less money, but now they're successful. And that's why, I'll do something else, hopefully within the league, that I can continue to be successful. But yeah, it's part of the journey, talk about Jordan, one of the greatest NBA players of all time. Go look at his playing salary. He didn't make much money, but he helped the NBA become what it is. And so not that I am that good, but I helped the MLS become kind of what it is in a very small scale. But like, the Drew Moores, the Wandos, the JMOs, the Jason Hernandez, the guys who are lifers in MLS, I think we take pride in that. Like, yeah, we helped the league become what it is. And now the guys are reaping the benefits. That's good. I think we're all proud of that.
Yeah, for sure. So FYI, we got, I don't know, it says 8 minutes 45 time left or whatever. So if we want to hop over to this other call, I can start it, then we can keep rolling.
Yeah, if you want to just go over to it now. That's a fine transition.
Yeah.
This way we don't get cut off.
Yep. All right. See you guys in a sec. I'll start it.
Okay. All right. Bye.
All right. We're back. So we left off, explaining your kind of role with MLS and being the bridge between the generations. So I guess I never realized this until literally the other day, but you've obviously been a part of a lot of crazy situations from, you told me about the crazy draft day story to, I didn't realize you lacerated your pancreas with TFC. Is that still the wildest period of your soccer career, the wildest moment, or was it the crazy long journey with the PDL?
No, it was definitely the, near death, just pancreas laceration, getting to the hospital and they're like, yeah, you're patient 0. We don't really see this with athletes. We don't know how to deal with it. This is usually a car accident or a stab wound injury. And so, it was pretty crazy. Like, yeah, you might become a diabetic now because of this, because, your pancreas, breaks down the sugar and that whole system. I won't get into the details, but yeah, that was definitely the craziest. And I had multiple doctors come in, specialists, to figure out, can I keep playing? Am I going to retire then from soccer? Like, no, you can't play anymore. Or are you going to live? Like, that was definitely the craziest.
That was in Champions League against Montreal, right, Steven?
So not Champions League. That was in the Canadian Championship final.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the Canadian final. It was for a trophy. I had to tough it out. It happened right before halftime. And so I don't even think I went back in. It was an injury time of the first half. And so I think I was just on the sideline. They blew the halftime whistle. I walked in from the opposite end. So it was a long walk all the way in. All the doctors came in, checked me out. And, I was in so much pain, like so much. When you get the wind knocked out of you, a few seconds you can't breathe. It felt like I couldn't breathe for 30 seconds. I thought I was going to die on the field. And I just remember Michael Bradley saying something like, are you okay? Are you okay? To say something. And I'm just I can't talk. I'm trying to respond. I can't talk. And so I was in so much pain. They checked for broken bones. Obviously they can't see inside to see if the organs are okay. And internally if everything's okay, but they checked and you don't have broken ribs. Your sternum's okay. Do you want to come out? It's halftime. We'll make the sub. And in my mind, I'm no, it's the Canadian final. If nothing's broken, I'm going to try to tough it out. And I remember second half started and I'm just kind of jogging out there and man, it felt like a sharp, just a knife being stabbed every time I kind of stepped to jog. And the moment that I was okay, I'm playing through this, was they made a bad pass around midfield. And this was first 2 minutes of the game. And I see Kyle Fisher, the guy who hit me, going for it. And I was oh, payback. And you want to talk about dirty moments. If you want to cut clips together, you're oh yeah, you're a dirty player. I'm not a dirty player. But in this moment, I was. I didn't care about the ball. I wasn't even looking at the ball. I just watching him the whole time because he's coming from my right as a center back. And, as a wing back, the way we played with TSC, it was just, perpendicular. I was just I'm going to line him up. And I perfectly met him, laid him out. And I remember the ref wanted to blow the whistle because it was a complete foul. I didn't touch the ball. I just completely linebacker, laying out wide receiver that goes down the middle type of thing. And he's a big guy. So just imagine how much force I had to put into this hit. And he was that serves you right. And he puts the whistle down and just lets play on. And I was all right, I could finish the game. That was it. And so I finished the game, not smart. We won the Canadian final, so it was worth it. We went out afterwards and celebrated. Definitely not smart. But yeah, that whole night and then the rest of the day, I was in shambles. Just not good. Almost died.
Steven, you played in. You're talking about you come into San Jose, Cali Classico. I don't remember. This would have been early days for the Cascadia Cup. So if we're talking about local rivalries, it's the one on the West. And then what is it? DC versus now Red Bull at the time, MetroStar. I can't remember what that's called. And then some of those duels that you guys had with Montreal. I can't remember if it was when you guys made it to Cup or you won Cup, but that semi-final that was 7-5 on aggregate was absolutely crazy. You go to LAFC, so then I know you just have to hate the Galaxy now, of course. How crazy, no disrespect to the Rocky Mountain Cup, how crazy were some of these derby matches you played in?
Yeah, no respect to the Rocky Mountain Cup. Obviously, we don't like Salt Lake at all. But the, El Clasico, the whole Quakes and Galaxy, the two originals, that was always crazy. We always played that at Stanford Stadium. And I still think to this day, the loudest I've heard a stadium get was when Gordon scored. It was the 3-2. We were down a goal, down a man, and we scored 2 goals in injury time. I think that was the loudest. It was 55,000 sold out. And I remember when he scored, I kind of just like froze there. Usually I'm like running around, like jumping, high-fiving people. I like froze, and I just like looked around. Like I felt like the place was shaking. It was crazy. And then the whole Montreal and Toronto, you know, the Eastern Conference Championship, the 2 legs, you know, we go to their place, and, you know, we were playing at the Olympic Stadium. So I think that was like, 65,000, if I'm not mistaken. Come home to Toronto, and that was, you know, we were at sold out 30,000. It was just like the perfect weather. It was a cool night. It was, like just a drizzle of rain. So the pitch was a little wet. It was slick. It was unbelievable. And I ended up assisting the game winner for that one, to Benoit Cheroux. So that was a really cool moment just to, again, be part of, an LAFC Galaxy. Like, yeah, like we were the new kids on the block. We were the shiny new toy, and they hated us. And, you know, they weren't doing too well at the time, but they kept beating us. And we were flying, but they just kept beating us. And we couldn't figure it out. Or we would just give up a late lead every game and tie. And so that was super frustrating. And to knock them out in, the Western Conference semis, 5-3, that was pretty cool as well. So I've been fortunate to be part of some really, really cool rivalries. For the most part, I was on top of them, but, you know, I've had my fair share of, you know, also got beaten. So it makes it that much more enjoyable when you do beat them.
Yeah, just to follow up. So, I mean, kind of internationally, of course, you had the famous making the World Cup roster with Iran in 2014. Did you have that kind of moment that you had at Stanford Stadium ever? Or did you play, I'm trying to recall, did you play World Cup qualifying games in that stadium in
Azadi
Tehran?
Stadium?
Yeah, Azadi, yeah.
Yeah. So
what was that like?
My very first game, I think it was a qualifier for the World Cup against Thailand. And that was pretty cool. It wasn't sold out, which is 100,000 person stadium. So it wasn't sold out. That would have been insane, but there were still a ton of fans, and it was very cool. I don't know what minute I got in. It was probably the last 20 or 30 minutes. But when they saw me get up to warm up, they all just start chanting in Farsi, "Put Beitashour in." And that was a pretty cool moment that they all just started chanting my name, because I haven't had that with any club team where like, oh, everyone's just chanting for you. I didn't have any songs where some players do. And so the fact that they started chanting my name, you know, put Steven in, you know, put Beitashour in, that was the chant in Farsi. It was pretty cool. So that was definitely a very surreal moment.
Beta, how special will being able to say that, you know, you've represented your country, you know, at the World Cup, especially given where things are geopolitically in the Middle East right now?
Yeah, you know, it's very cool. You know, I still think I would have loved to play for the U.S. being born and raised. I think that was always the goal, and I've never said it publicly. Obviously, as a player, you know, you can't take sides. But when you're a dual citizen, where my parents were born in Iran and we have so much pride in our Persian culture, you know, I think it's pretty cool to represent the family name and represent, you know, millions, 80 million people. Like, soccer there, football there is the number one sport. It's so big. It's like they're so passionate about it. And so I think when you understand that, like, yeah, you wanted to represent the U.S., but you have this opportunity to represent your culture, you know? Yeah, I'm an Iranian, however you want to call it. I take pride in both. I was born and raised here. Like, yeah, I'm an American. But everything I do on a daily basis, you know, our mannerisms, the way we were, you know, raised, it's in a Middle Eastern household, you know? That's an Iranian culture and heritage, that all the things that we kind of do and celebrate. So I took big pride in that, that call up and representing them well and, not letting my family down, but not letting the fans down, like always, being respectful to that.
Where are those? Where are the jerseys from the World Cup right now? Are those under lock and key somewhere?
No. I have a few jerseys that are framed, and up in the man cave, and the World Cup jersey, which I had the whole team sign. That one is up. Yeah. So I originally had the jersey against Argentina signed just because of Messi, and then someone was asking for one of my old jerseys, and so I was going through. I have a huge, I have a couple bins full of just jerseys from my old teams, and then players that I switched with, and then I saw I had everyone on the team sign it, the World Cup jersey. I was like, oh, I forgot I did this. So I had to switch out the jerseys in the frame. I was like, all right, you're coming down Argentina jersey. Messi plays here now. It's not as cool. And so I put up the jersey that everyone autographed. So that one's in a frame in the man cave.
What's your favorite jersey swap that you got? Who's your favorite opponent that you got a kit of?
So I'm not a big fan of the jersey swaps, especially with like forwards or midfielders. And so I usually do it with friends, guys who I played with, whether it's, Wando or Carlos Vela, Justin Morrow, Jordan Harvey, Jason Hernandez. Like I usually do it with friends that I played with and, that I know off the field. But I don't like doing it with like, Zlatan or, Henry, who was like one of my favorite players when he was at Arsenal. It was just weird. Like for me, they were rivals more than anything. Like I didn't want to have that mental game of like, oh, he thinks that, he's got something over me now that I want to switch jerseys. So I never did that. I mean, you could switch with defenders, but not too many defenders were coming here that, you would typically say, oh, I want to switch jerseys with you. So I had a different mindset of like, don't give him a mental advantage. He's still the opponent. He's still the enemy. You have to win on all terms, physically and mentally. So nothing cool. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I think that's pretty cool personally. But kind of back to the influence, the impact you've had. You talked about the younger guys and wanting for them to succeed. But the thing that I noticed like right away about your comments, it was the guys who commented the most were all the young guys. I mean, on your post, I saw comments from Calvin Harris, your locker teammate this year, Yappy, Ralph. I mean, when you kind of look at all of the life lessons you've just learned in the game, just how proud of you of that aspect of being able to pass some of that on so that they're more prepared for their future?
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I get a lot of text messages as well. And I was always a fan of, rather than social media posts, like texting people like privately and like just what they meant to me in my career. When someone like my mentors, when they retired, like, hey, I just want to let you know, and more sentimental. But I did notice a lot of the young guys posting on my, my social media. And I thought that was really cool because, as much as I love playing and being competitive and just winning, I knew I was coming to Colorado to help Robin out on a different term. It's like, yeah, you're getting a little bit older. You're going to play here and there, but your main role is being a mentor for these young guys. So it's pretty cool to see that, I don't know how good of a job I did, but the fact that those guys were kind of implying that, I think, shows that, hey, you did a pretty good job. It's always tough to transition. Like, yeah, I'm not going to fight and compete for a starting job anymore. I'm going to fight and compete to make you better and teach you, And so that was kind of clarification. Like, yeah, you know what? You did do a good job. You did teach them. You did kind of show them the ropes. I would love to continue to do that because I just think as a coach, you can just give so much more and so much more time and energy than as a player. As a player, it's like, all right, I'm here right now where as a coach, you could do it all day, every day. You can go out at home and, cut clips for them and show them. There was a few guys, where I would cut clips as a player, which is weird to do. And I would show them these clips of trainings, not of games, and of trainings where they can work on and improve that so that they play in games. Ollie Larraz is one who I think you said commented. And, as a coach, I think, man, if you could do that for so many more players and just cut these clips where I don't think most coaches necessarily do that. You have a whole group, and to be a development coach and do that, I think it's pretty cool, and you could really teach a lot. And then you start teaching the off the field stuff that I want to do, like getting into the gym, ice bath recovery, preparation, stuff that I actually think you posted in your article, which I thought was really cool. I forgot about that when Robin mentioned all the off the field preparation, recovery stuff, and being able to hopefully be with the club and teach that to the next generation. I was like, man, that was a good reminder. He did say that, and that is what I want to do next. So now it's just a matter of whether it's in Colorado or California or one of my past clubs. So we'll see about that.
Beta, where did the interest in development and that almost like technical mentorship really start for you? Because, you were a new player coming into San Jose, and with all due respect, I don't think Carlos Vela or Sebastian Giovinco needed you cutting up clips for what they did. Did it start in Colorado? Where did that light switch go on for you?
Yeah, it started during the COVID year, 2020. And I was a free agent for a little while because the whole league shut down. And so now I'm like, man, I've been sitting out of the league for a little while. I know, I was just on a Supporter Shield winning team, starter. That was one of the best teams in MLS history. I know we didn't win MLS Cup. Playoffs, it's a crapshoot. It happens. But that was one of the best teams I've ever been a part of, that 2019 LFC team. And for me, it was kind of tough being like, how am I not wanted by like half the teams in the league right at that moment? And so I started thinking, all right, you know what, is this it? And that's when talking to many different people, other mentors, other coaches, like, well, what if this is, what do you want to do? And so I started looking into it, and everyone kept saying, like, you're such a good pro. You're such a good pro. You did all the things that players don't want to do, whether they didn't know about it or the mental and physical capacity to do it. Like, you did all those little things, the ice baths, the eating right, the not drinking, not, eating all these sweets and desserts and all these, things that aren't good for your body, And so I was like, well, can I share that knowledge? Is there a role for that? And so then I started studying it. Then I started studying the sports nutrition. Then I started studying the CSCS. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe I should get my coach's license. And then it kind of developed and said, all right, this is what I want to do. I want to share my knowledge. I have a passion for it. It's probably why I played for so long, probably why I succeeded for so long. I don't think if I didn't do that stuff, I wouldn't have had the career I had. And so I think now it's time, like, all right, you're done. Can you share that information? Can you help whatever team you go to? Can you get the best out of those 2-3 players, and now it elevates the whole team, and now the club wins, and then now they can sell those individual players, and now the organization wins. So in my mind, that's where it started, and then that's where it went.
Yeah, Steven, kind of, if you think about it, I mean, you were kind of universally beloved by every fan base you went to, obviously, which is a great sign. But like, just when you think about it, I mean, you already talked about it, but just how much does like the support from all the fan bases that you've kind of just been having and spent time with has just kind of sunk in maybe over the last couple of days, and what each spot
I
meant?
definitely appreciate all the supporters that have reached out, and I do feel that love. I felt that love from every team I've gone from one to the other. The fact that they were still like welcoming me, you don't always see that when you leave a team. And it goes all the way back to when I was, at San Jose, when I was a rookie, second, third year in the league. and watching Wando and the way he interacted with the fans. And I remember him telling me the person who he learned from was Troy Dyack. And so when he would sign all these autographs, and he told, well, whether he told Wando or said this and Wando took it from him, there's going to be a day when you retire and these fans don't want your autograph. They don't want your picture. And so enjoy it now. Sign all those autographs. And I would always see Wando after every game signing all the autographs. This guy's, he won the Golden Boot. I think it was my first and second year in the league, third year in the league. In 2012, broke the whole goal scoring record. And his attitude didn't change. He was always signing all the autographs, always taking the pictures. And so at a very young age, I saw him doing that. He was the league MVP in 2012. So I was like, all right, who am I to not do what this guy is doing? I'm not the MVP of the league. So every day after every game, I went up and signed all the autographs. I signed all the pictures. I never said no. And I did that at every single club I went to. I always went to the supporter section and thanked them, shook hands, took pictures and all that stuff. And you kind of see, I did that with the Raptors fans as well. Maybe I wasn't playing as much and it didn't mean as much to them. Maybe they didn't know me as well, but I still did it because of what I learned from Wando, who learned from Troy Dyack. So it definitely next generation to next generation. Hopefully someone learned that. I don't know if someone did, but hopefully someone learned that for me as well, and they can carry that on.
I can affirm that for you, Beta. Brendan and I occasionally will go out and meet with fans before games at the tailgate and everything. I've had 3 fans independently, not me asking them, mentioned either a direct interaction with you that you were open to, and 2 of them mentioned you following them on social media as like, this guy's cool, this guy gets it. I don't care if he's old, I don't care if we think he's slow, like I'm here for him and that kind of a thing. So I can confirm what you did mattered, and who knows, maybe there's some small little kid whose autograph you signed and he's going to be in San Jose's academy in a couple of years. I want to talk about positioning, because Brendan and I are both going to write a piece about how you were one of the best right backs in league history, but you mentioned playing a winger for the Frogs, and according to your Wikipedia page, you were a 10 when you were in high school. How did your position move around happen?
Yes, I always loved just passing the ball. Probably why. I think Kai Wagner might have finally passed me, so I can't say I'm the only pure defender with 40 assists. I'll say I'm the first pure defender to get to 40 assists. I just enjoy passing the ball. And so it started off as that 10 role. I'd always lead my teams in assists in high school and club. And then I got to college. And then that's where I kind of found out how fast I was, because we did the 40-yard dash. And they're like, yeah, you're too fast to be in the midfield. We're going to put you on the flanks because you work hard. You can run for days. And so that was the start of the transition. So then it went to being like a winger. But I didn't really have the production of, goal scoring and assists on the wing. And then it was, okay, go back to defense because you're super competitive. You're an unbelievable 1v1 defender. You don't get beat, but you keep running forward and overlapping. And so I was getting more production as far as assists and crosses go as a fullback. So that's how the transition kind of happened. I was never in right back in college, though, because we had right-footed players. I always played left back. So I didn't have as many assists with my left foot in college, but I was still just running like crazy, defending and making all the right decisions and defending well. And then it was when I went to San Jose, we're like, well, you're right-footed, so you're going to play right back. And then Justin Moore was left-footed. He's going to play left back. And then it worked out well.
Pollard, if you got a follow-up or whatever, or no? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I totally answered the question, but that was just a transition. Sorry.
I didn't really realize your history, because I thought you were just always a natural defender, but good to know.
No. I didn't play right back until the pros. I played left back in college. Started out never got to play midfield, or center midfield. It was mostly left winger, right winger. And then I just, they pushed me back and they said, you're too competitive. You don't like to lose. You love getting forward. Obviously, I have that attacking mentality, but yeah, it was just the work rate and the speed. They're like, all right, go to the flanks. And then, fortunately, when I went to right back in the pros, it was on my dominant foot. So then now I'm just whipping in these crosses. I think I've made a name for myself with the Quakes. You know, it was get the ball wide, cross it in. And someone like Chris Leach, actually, I learned a lot from him and his technique of crossing. And, you know, he was more of a defender. And so I learned a lot from the defending side from him. But then my natural wanting to get forward, being a midfielder growing up, I think the combination is what you see now. You get a lot of clean sheets because I defend first, but then you get a lot of assists because I love going forward. So nowadays, I just feel like these outside backs, and maybe I sound like a bitter, old generation player, but they just go forward. And it drives me crazy that they don't take pride in defending. I'm like, you're a defender. Defend first. And then when the opportunity comes, you get forward. You know, it drives me a little crazy now that I see guys, you know, that just run forward. And I don't want to name names in the league, but there's so many that, you know, their team isn't going to be successful. And for me, the number one thing was always the team success. Help your team win. If you have to just stay back and never go forward, stay back. If you're playing against, as a right back, if you're playing against the best left winger and he's what that team just always looks for, shut him down. Don't worry about getting forward. Make sure he doesn't help them, and then your team will win. So the fact that, you know, I don't know if Emilio ended up getting the final stat, but, you know, I think the percentage was the greatest as far as start to shutout ratio in MLS history. But then I think he said it was top 5 in defenders in MLS history with shutouts. So I don't know what the final numbers were. He was looking at that and telling me along the way, but it was pretty cool. So yeah.
Well,
somewhere wherever Frank Gallup is right now, Beta, if he heard you say like the team success, defend first if you have to, he's just nodding. So that I do have a follow-up question then, because I know like players who are normally pure defenders or who are defenders for the entirety of this career, you see a difference between maybe attackers want to win, defenders want to lose. And yes, it's a trope, but I was always a defensive person in all the sports that I played. And on some level down there I hated losing more than I liked winning. I mean, do you have a preference, or being a wingback, do you like both?
100%. That is what I've said for so long. And you get it. You understand it. I hate losing more than I enjoy winning. I don't want to sound conceited. You almost expect to win, like all the work and preparation that you've done, like that's the result you expect. So if you lose, it hurts so much more. And I just lose so much sleep over the failure of the end result, which is the loss. So I do everything in my power not to lose, but everybody loves just winning. Like that's why we play the game. You want to win. But yeah, the losing definitely hurts more.
Beta, you know, kind of wrapping up. I mean, we got 9 minutes, so we're all good. But like if you look at, for the Rapids fans listening, you know, if you look at the players they bring in, they're all, character is number one above everything. And while it's a really, really, really tough year this past season, for the Rapids fans that are still will never, ever give up hope, why can the group that you just played with bounce back in this season or next? Or why, you know, the state of the club is in a solid spot maybe?
Yeah, you know, I think as long as the players stick together, as long as they continue to put in the work, we had an unfortunate start to the season last year, and sometimes it's tough to get out of those holes. You know, when you have so many injuries like we had last year, I think people forget, you know, you're missing your captain, you're missing your leading goal scorer from the year before. You know, Diego was hurt for a big portion. You know, Will ends up getting hurt for the rest of the season towards the end. I'm trying to think. There was another couple big ones that we just guys were hurt, you know, and so now you're chasing the whole time. And when you're chased, you overexpose yourself in the grand scheme of the game. You know, if it's 0-0 if you're not chasing points, you can stay compact. You don't have to overexpose yourself and chase these goals. But then when you do that, you end up giving up goals. And, going back to when I was, with my other teams and like defend first, keep your team in it. That was always the mentality. Okay, don't give up goal. Because when you give up a goal, now they get to sit back and kind of bunker in. And it's tough to break teams down, The best teams in the world, Man City, Barca, like they have a tough time when the opposition is just sitting back. And so, if you can keep it an even fight, your team will usually win. And I remember Greg Banny before I got to Toronto, when I was coming from Vancouver as a free agent, he said, Steven's one of those guys from his San Jose to Vancouver days. He's going to help us, turn those 0-0 draws into 1-0 wins. Or he's going to help us, maybe turn those 1-1 draws even better into the 1-0 wins. Get us that shutout. All we need is one goal. And then you have this whole domino effect of we just keep winning. Now other teams have to chase because they're like, well, they're going to score. And then you have successful teams like 16, 17, 18, 19 with LAFC, Toronto FC, even Vancouver. Last year it was just tough because we were the team chasing. Like, man, we need points. We got to do whatever we can to score a goal. And now you're conceding more. You don't have as much cover in front of the back four. Maybe your fullbacks are both going. And now your poor center backs are left isolated on the wing. And so that's why you see the results that you saw, and that's why you start conceding more than you should.
Oh.
Beta, favorite trophy that you won, favorite Rapids moment?
Favorite trophy, MLS Cup. That just, everyone always talks about the end result, but that 2017 and 2019 season were pretty remarkable. Even the Quakes one, I know we didn't break the points record. We got pretty close. I think we ended with 66 in 2012. But like to break a regular season record that had stood since 98, the Galaxy had it for that long, was pretty cool. I still put an asterisk next to New England because it was during COVID and, fans weren't really there. They played a bunch of games at home. Couldn't really travel on the West Coast. There's an asterisk next to them. So those trophies were pretty cool. But MLS Cup, just because that's, at the end of the day, there's only one team that's going to be happy. And if you can win in the playoffs, that's what we all played for. But again, I've been asked this question before, which one's harder? I think the regular Supporters Shield is harder to do than MLS Cup. Because MLS Cup, you can get lucky. You can be a 6 seed, 7 seed, make the playoffs, and just have a good 3-4 game stretch. But to do it for an entirety of a season for 34 games, that's tougher to do. There's no luck in that. Like, that's the best team. So for me to have one Supporters Shield 3 times, I'm like, that's pretty cool. But I know everyone always puts more emphasis on MLS Cups. So that's the leading trophy.
Yeah. Favorite Rapids moment as a player?
Favorite Rapids moment, 21, final game against LAFC, team I just came from, and winning the West. Again, I think we had one of the lowest payrolls. So like similar to 2012 with the Quakes, the expectations aren't there, with LAFC, with Toronto FC, we were expected to win. So it's the pressure, like you have to win. Rapids 21, Quakes 2012, you weren't expected to win. You just shocked not the world, but you shocked all the MLS teams. You shocked the United States. How did these guys just do that? How did they just constantly get these 1-0 wins and just grind out these results? And that was pretty cool to do. That was my favorite moment with the Rapids for sure.
I don't know. I could go on, but I've got so much to go off of, Steven. So
yeah, but Beta, thanks for
seriously.
doing this. You've been nothing but great with us in the media and everything, and you were clearly a class person on and off the pitch, and so I can't speak well enough that so many fans, so many teammates, everybody on the different teams that you were at said so much. So just congratulations on everything you've achieved. Thank you for the way that you interacted with us and everything, and we're gonna do right by you, and hopefully this isn't the last time that we speak to each other.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate all the conversations that we've had. I enjoyed my time in Colorado. Hopefully we will stay and it'll continue to be there because I love the city. Denver's an awesome city and the people are amazing. But, I understand it is a business at the end of the day. And so if it's not there, I'll enjoy all the times I do come back. But, we'll see. It's to be determined.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, Beta, what's the chant in Farsi that the fans were saying?
So the direct translation is Beitashour Betartu,
Okay.
which means put Beitashour in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
So they were chanting that as I was warming up, which was like cool. I've never had that at a club level.
Yeah.
It was always about the team, the chants that the supporter section does. So it's pretty cool. Like, man, they're chanting just for me. Like, put me in. That was really cool.
I mean, I know that stadium has like mythical, almost like a mythical kind of energy about it. So that must have been, oh God. So
yeah, Azadi Stadium has some history. It's like the old school Coliseum feel, like Azteca in Mexico, which I was fortunate enough to play against as well against Mexico when I was with the U.S. national team.
Yeah,
it's just weird. Like it's just this humming, loud, just. You can't replicate that type of noise. It's just like it's old school, and you love it. Yeah, you love it. It's really cool. This is what you kind of play for. I always talk about. I always play for the fans. Like this is why we get to play the game. It's because of the fans. So enjoy it. So anytime you got to play in those type of stadiums, I think I enjoyed it even more.
Awesome, Beta. Well, I think we've got less than a minute to go here, so just wanted to say thank you for everything again, and best of luck. We can't wait to hear what's next.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate everything you guys did for not just me, but for the club as well. So you guys continue to do what you do. So thank you from all the guys.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Be well.
Cool. All right. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
See you guys. Bye.
Recording stopped.